Hey guys, welcome back to some more Williams Return to Glory here today, and this is round 17 of the season for the Russian Grand Prix, one of my least favourite tracks on the calendar. But first of all guys, as always, I'm going to get the plug out of the way. If you missed the previous episode at Singapore, then go check it out. I'll leave it linked up in the top right hand corner of your screen. And today we are here at Russia, and for the first time in this entire series, I can confirm we're no longer the slowest team on the grid, which is really exciting. So let's jump into it. If you guys are going to enjoy today's episode, then slap a like on it. Let's try and hit 1,000 likes on this episode. Subscribe for more content like this, guys. I just hit 58,000 subs. Let's try and push towards 59, possibly 60, and just keep pushing forward, guys. I really appreciate all the support. And yeah, let's get the Russian Grand Prix underway, and hopefully we can try and use the upgrades to push even further forward. Now, first of all, we look at the weather forecast, and this weekend we have nice dry conditions all the way through. We then look at the R&D progression chart, and as you can see, we finally are not the slowest team on the grid as we overtake Haas, and we're pretty much neck and neck with Alfa Romeo and just behind AlphaTauri. So hopefully, if all goes well with the upgrades, we could potentially take another step forward heading into the next race. We've got 2 more upgrades on the way. Both are minor, but if they arrive, they should put us pretty much level with AlphaTauri. So let's hope we can get those in the car and they arrive in time. We moved to practice though for Russia, and you guys know by now on this channel, this is not my favorite track. I don't really enjoy Russia that much. It's in my top 3, top 4 worst tracks for sure. And this one's a bit of a tricky one. You can see I'm losing the back end out of the turn 4 right hand, and just generally I just struggle around here. I just don't enjoy racing this track, to be honest. So for me, it's one of them ones where I want to kind of just get over it, because Japan's the next race, which is my favorite. So I'm looking forward to that race. But nonetheless, after practice, we scored a decent amount of R&D points, almost 800 points to be fair, and a decent session for us. And things are looking pretty positive heading into qualifying. The pace looks good. It seems like the upgrades have worked. Even Russell seems to have taken a step forward in pace this weekend, which is great. So there's reasons to feel optimistic about the qualifying session ahead of us, and we're going to jump into Q1 then and get things underway. So here we are on the soft tyres, currently at the end of my first qualifying lap in this session, and to be fair, it was a really solid banker lap, really on the money, exactly what we needed. And you can see now as we go through the final corner, we're going to cross the line and go P13, which is decent enough for 1 minute 30.1. I then went back to the pits, I gave it a bit of time, and I went out the last car on track. Essentially, I was waiting to see what laps everyone would do, and essentially what I'm doing with the strategy, everyone by now would have done their laps, and I know I'm safe, so it means that I can actually abandon this lap and just pit and basically save the tyres and the engine. So you can see here, I'm actually going to give up on the lap. I was about 2 tenths up at one point, but again, once I realised I was safe, there was no point in finishing the lap. So there we go, we're safe and out of Q1. Russell finishes P17 in the end, so he just misses out. But you know, on our end, the car's looking pretty decent, and I've got some good pace. So with that said, we're going to move to Q2. Again, we're going to go for 2 runs in this session. This is my first one. Fresh tyres, of course, for both of these, because we may start the race on these tyres if we get through. We go P12 on our first run. We're at 30.5, so 1 tenth quicker than our Q1 lap time. And with that, we're now going to move on to my final run in qualifying. We're currently P13. Another set of fresh soft tyres go on the car, and we're going to see how the lap goes. So first of all, very important to open up the final corner. If you can get the exit right, you're going to gain a lot of time down this entire straight. But anyway, DRS wide open, and through turn 1, we're now going to start the lap, and I'll get back to you guys when the lap is over. And there we go, across the line, out the final corner. We go P10, and a decent lap overall, to be fair. The final sector wasn't that great, it let me down a little bit, but we get into the 129s, but unfortunately, that was not going to be enough, and we get eliminated in Q2. Can't really complain too much. I think I left about a 10th on the table, especially in the final sector, but even then, that would have been only good enough for P13, so yeah, bit of a shame. The AI seemed to have taken a bit of a step forward when it mattered the most in qualifying, so that's just fair play. You know, we need to work on the car more and improve. But again, Q2, keeping that consistency up, we are going to get the free tyre choice for the race, which we are going to take advantage of and go for an alternate strategy. But yeah, there we go. That's it for qualifying and feeling pretty decent. Leclerc does outscore us, which means the rivalry is tied heading into the race. But yeah, speaking of the race, let's jump into it, and fingers crossed we can try and pull some decent points at the back from P14 on the grid here for the Russian Grand Prix.
Welcome one and all to today's Grand Prix here in southern Russia. A beautiful location besides the Black Sea, and a race that has been dominated so far by the Silver Arrows. Mercedes have won here 6 times in a row since the first Sochi Grand Prix in 2014. Can someone else muscle in on that record here today? It's time to go racing then at the Sochi Autodrome, where the long run down to the heavy braking zone at turn 2 is one of 2 DRS zones around this 3.6 mile circuit. The other, of course, down into turn 13. 18 corners make up a lap here today, with an average speed somewhere in the region of 130 miles an hour. A warm welcome to Anthony Davidson, who's beside me in the commentary box today. Let's talk about Martinez. That was a great win in the last race. Can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
It's always nice to come into a Grand Prix weekend on a high, but your expectations are based much more on your practice and qualifying runs. So it's the momentum from those sessions that they'll be hoping to carry into the race today.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Leclerc, Ricciardo, Sebastian Vettel and Stroll, Norris, Kvyat, Bottas and Carlos Sainz, Gasly, Martinez, Kimi Raikkonen and Perez, Russell, Grosjean, Alexander Albon. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. And Antonio Giovinazzi, Magnussen and Esteban Ocon rounds off the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track and get this Grand Prix underway.
Okay guys, here we go. It's time for the Russian Grand Prix. We start from P12 on the grid, row number 6, and I feel pretty confident we can get a good result here today. I think if we can get a good start, make the medium tyres work, we could have a really strong race. I am hopeful of scoring points once again. Not quite sure where, to kind of aim for in terms of prediction. I think top 8 would be pretty decent. Race strategy though, we're going to start of course on the mediums that I just mentioned. We're going to switch to the soft tyre and go for a very simple one-stop strategy and go for the alternate version of that. Hopefully that will give us some good rewards at the end of the race. Fuel wise, I've overfueled by 1 lap. I feel like we need a little bit of fuel but not too much, and there is no rain expected whatsoever here today. So without further ado, let's just jump into it and let's see if we can try and make it another decent race for us in this career mode so far. Okay, here we go. The lights come on here for the race. We're going to build up the RPM. Lights out, away we go. Oh, not a good start. It's a bit of wheel spin in the first phase, and that compromises the second phase as well. So we're down to P15 already. Not a good start at all. We've got Grosjean on our right as we head down towards turn 2. On the brakes, I would dive that, but it is Russell, so I'm going to leave him a bit of room and try and be a bit generous. We're going to squeeze Grosjean onto the curb as we go through turn 3, but this is not a good start from us. On the mediums as well, not ideal. So we've got it all to do. Bit of a shame really. I'm still trying to get used to the starts in these pedals. I think it's going to take quite a few races for me to really get on top of it. I'm still learning, so yeah, hopefully for next season we're going to be kind of good to go with all forms of race starts, whether it's in the dry or the wet. But for now I'm still a little bit inconsistent in terms of how I do them, because I don't really know how I get a good start sometimes, but I just do. So yeah, we're going to try and get on top of that anyway. Nonetheless, lap 1 still going pretty decently. Besides the bad start, we've actually held a good pace. Just trying to stay ahead of Grosjean for now. I'm going to try and see if I can challenge Russell here by draining my ERS. Here we go. Try and gain a place back if we can. Don't want to go too late on the brakes, just in case we run into the back of Raikkonen, but we get the move done on George. And we're up to P14. I see Bottas there in P10, so I believe he's had a bit of a bad start, / a grid penalty. Well, so far, 5 laps in, nothing's really happening. Albon's fighting his way back through from behind, so he's now P16 in this race. I don't really have a pace advantage right now, we're kind of stuck. I am having a few issues with the accelerator in certain corners, I'm just a bit slow to put the throttle down. And yeah, really nothing's really happening so far, just kind of going through the motions. It's a very, very typical Russian Grand Prix at the moment, you could say, a bit of a procession. There are a bunch of cars up ahead, in a bit of a train, the DRS train there, so that's good for us in terms of our strategy. We could potentially, get amongst that once we pit. But for now, we don't really go nowhere. I'm just trying to keep ERS charged up, trying to keep some fuel back, so that when everyone does eventually pit, I can try and go for the overcut. But I've got to be honest, my pace isn't great. I'm suffering with a lot of understeer at the minute, but also oversteer on the corner exit, as you can see there. So yeah, the car balance isn't great at the minute, so nothing's really happening. Just kind of waiting for something to happen, really.
Some information on Albon. They have an issue with their car. They're going to be slow.
That's not bad, because Alex was closing in behind, but again, it's not ideal because it is a car behind us, not in front of us. So bit of a shame. We are now well and truly stuck in this DRS train now, so the straight line speed is kind of non-existent, the DRS effect. So we're just kind of chilling here, waiting for these soft tyres to kind of fade on these guys, and hopefully then we'll get a few opportunities. I feel like the soft tyres are starting to go a little bit now on the AI. I think we can start to consider making some moves. I'm quite good on the brakes compared to the AI, so I want to try and use that to my advantage, because I'm not great on throttle application, so it's going to have to be a late braking move. So I wonder if we can get Kimi here, possibly. If I can get a good exit out of this corner, that'd be great, but I'm not too confident. Okay, that wasn't too bad. What the engine temperature is saying, 119. Okay, we should be okay. I'm going to keep the overtake mode engaged. Let's see if we can go for a move on Kimi here. Looks like we can't. I haven't got enough juice. Or have I? Oh yes, I have. Down the inside we go. That was surprising, actually. Nice little move. A bit late on the brakes, but Kimi actually broke really early, so there we go, P13. Perez a little bit slow through there. I'm going to have a little look here. Down the inside of turn 3. Perez is giving me the good old squeezerino, leaving me minimal room. Not quite able to make that one stick, unfortunately, but I'm going to keep the pressure on here. You never know. Might force him into an error. Looks like Perez will hold on though for now. The AR's pace isn't that great, so I want to try and get past if possible. Okay, good exit out of there. We're within range once more. Do we go for it again on the straight? My engine's going to start overheating, so I'm going to have a bit of trouble in terms of getting close enough. But you know what? On the brakes, down the inside, it's a big send, and we make it work once again. So there we go, P12. Need to start making these moves, as the AI are going to start pitting any moment now, so this is important. Here we are behind Sainz. I'm going to try and get him here. I'm going to drain the battery. Can we get close enough? Yes, we can. Down the inside we go. Another big send on the brakes. And we're now P11. Big dive bombs here today. Right, I'm going to try and hold back that little bit of ERS that I have, as I'm going to need that once we go for the overcut. I hate that corner so much. I'm struggling with the balance through there really, really badly. Here we go then, cars into the pits. Let's see how many are in there and how many places we'll gain. Looks like Bottas may get a chance to get a move on this lap. Although, to be fair, he's stuck in a bit of an AlphaTauri train, which is usually quite difficult from my experience, because the AlphaTauri is very fast in the straight. So, especially if they're running in a tandem block, it's going to be hard to make a move in terms of straight line speed alone. Let's see what happens into turn 2 though. Looks like the AlphaTauri is actually challenging each other now, so we're now P5 in this race. There we go, Bottas makes the move on Kvyat quite comfortably. Seems like Kvyat may be out of ERS. Both AlphaTauri still on soft tyres, so one of them will have to stay out for another lap. We're about to find out which one of those it is as we start to close up here. See if we can make a bit of progress. I want to try and stick with Bottas if possible.
Careful, we think you're going to start losing some tyre grip around now.
Yep. So Kvyat pits, Gasly stays out. That's going to be an easy move for Mr. Valtteri Bottas here as we move up into the top 3.
George is in the pits. George in the pits.
Alright, let's push then. Bit of clean air. This is an important phase of the race. We've got to try and keep the pace up. There we go, Gasly pits. Meanwhile, behind us, Hamilton is absolutely flying. He's about 2 seconds a lap quicker than me. It won't take him long to get by it, so he'll probably get by at the end of the lap. You can see that 33.1 from Lewis. I did a 35.0. That's the pace contrast right there. We have to go for the tactical wave through here and let Lewis and Verstappen buy it. I matched my personal best. So yeah, we matched personal best. I'm going to let Lewis go, so we'll let him have the left-hand side of the track. Come on, Hamilton, get on with it, mate. Let's go. I'm just going to slot in behind for now. Don't want to waste any time. I'll say that Lewis locks up right in front of me, and that costs me a bit of lap time. But let's try and stay within DRS if possible for the second DRS zone. Well, unfortunately, I dropped out straight away, and here comes Max. He's going to get by quite easily. We're not going to use any overtake. We're just going to try and stay in the slipstream and gain a bit of straight line speed that way. So there we go. We've let the traffic through. Let's just get on with our race now, and hopefully we'll try and still pull off a decent overcut by doing these extra laps on mediums. Fingers crossed we can overcut a couple of cars and get near the points. Okay, Bottas pits, but we're going to do one more lap, I believe, before we box with the softs. Our pace is pretty poor now. 3/10 off my personal best, but that felt like a really scruffy lap. Hopefully, though, this in-lap's pretty decent. Let's push. Here we go. We're going to box this lap. So I'm trying to nurse these tyres. Looks like we are on for a personal best as we send it into the pit lane. Trying to give it everything until we enter. And there we go. Right, we've managed to burn a bit of fuel. Hopefully we'll save a bit of ERS in the pit lane as well. And we're going to see if we've got any form of an overcut. So fingers crossed that works out for us. Looks like there's a bit of traffic coming through the final corner. Hopefully, I can see a little pack of like 5 cars making its way now into the penultimate corner. Hopefully we'll be out ahead of that. Okay, here we go. Currently P9. About to be P12 by the looks of it. So we'll be behind Sainz, I think.
That was our last stop. No more scheduled pit stops.
That's not too bad. We're P13, but we've got the soft tyre benefit. We're over 2 seconds clear of Kimi Raikkonen, so not too shabby. Pace wasn't that great on the overcut, which is to be expected, but now we've got these nice soft tyres on, so I'm expecting good things to happen. So 10 laps to go. Let's see if we can try and fight our way into the points here today. Okay, let's get to work. Let's get past Carlos Sainz first of all. This should be pretty straightforward. He doesn't have DRS on anybody else, so I'm going to get a nice bit of overspeed here. I could probably use minimal ERS to get the move done as well, which is nice. Here we go. DRS wide open. Force and defensive. We're just going to juice the ERS a little bit there, use a bit, about 5%, and that should get the job done. Around the outside. Easy does it. Alright, P12. Let's push on here, try and keep that little bit of fuel back, and also hold on to that ERS. We're going to need that to make these overtakes. There's a big train of cars up ahead. Here we go then. I've got myself within DRS range of the cars ahead. Personal best. 32.2, that's good pace. Now we're going to see how we're going to make these moves. Hopefully we can try and not overheat the engine and make these moves nice and cleanly. Already 2.7 clear from Sainz. We've dropped him quite easily. Time to get the elbows out and be aggressive. It's going to be similar moves to before, I think, outbraking people. Here we go, purple first sector. Pace is strong. If I can get a good exit here, which I do, I fancy myself to get a move at least. Let's try and get Perez. Nice bit of ERS drainage on this straight here as we try to close up on the brakes. Easy does it. Job done for that one. P11. Definitely think we can get these 3 cars and the Ferrari if we can get these moves done quickly. Here we go. In the slipstream of Kvyat. We all know though the situation with the AlphaTauris and their straight line speed, so this is going to have to be a nice little send on the brakes, this one I think. Here we go. Down the inside into turn 2. Another one done and dusted. Let's pick that one up. So we're in the points now, P10. Let's try and get Gasly next. So much more pace than Gasly here for the final corner. Just trying to get the traction down. Here we go. Nice and early. Just going to tuck in behind in the slipstream. This should be a relatively simple one on the brakes. So to be fair, Gasly going defensive isn't going to make it that easy, as I have to be careful to not run into the back of Stroll. Well, there we go. We're through. Can I get Lance here maybe? I'm going to try and be cheeky and see if I can get the move into turn 4. Here we go. Lovely. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Right, P8. Seb Vettel up next for P7.
Okay, some information on Bottas. They're slowing down. It seems like there's some kind of problem with their car.
That's nice. Bottas is up the road, so we could potentially get another place here. Alright, let's overtake Seb Vettel now. This should be an easy one again.
We've pretty much burned off our excess fuel. We'll be back on target soon. Don't wait too long to turn the engine down.
The Ferrari has no car in front with DRS, so that's going to be a nice easy one for us. And we're now P7 in this race. Vettel trying to re-challenge on the braking. Not quite sure what he was doing there, but we're through. And there we go. That's the hard work done. And now really we're just hoping for a miracle if we can gain any more places in this race. Last lap of the race, Ricciardo and Norris going at it here. I'm going to try and get involved. See if I can get amongst it. Tyres are starting to go now. Seems like Ricciardo's got the bit between his teeth. I'm going to try and see if I can do anything at this point. I am running out of tyres, fuel and DRS now. Going to see if I can get Lando here before the race ends. It looks like Lando's running on hardly any ERS, so we're going to try and send this one here on the brakes. Last lap. Oh yes, just about getting the car slowed down there. Bit of a lock up, but we're through. So we're going to snatch P6 at the death. Ricciardo's going to get P5. And in the end, Bottas's car issues didn't really affect him that badly, as he's going to hold on for a podium, so fair play. But there we go. Final couple of corners, and it's going to be P6 for us in the Russian Grand Prix, and a very strong recovery drive, and I will take that.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
Not just victory today then, but the championship as well. What a spectacular season they've had. Congratulations to the whole team. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes.
Well guys, there we go, the race is done and we pick up another solid points haul here today. Lewis Hamilton picks up the W ahead of Verstappen, Bottas third place with the fastest lap. Leclerc P4 ahead of Ricciardo, we finished P6 ahead of Norris, Stroll, Kvyat and Gasly, so Kvyat scoring points in his home Grand Prix. Missing out on the top 10 we have Perez, Vettel, Albon, Sainz, Ocon, Russell, Raikkonen, and then we have Grosjean, Giovinazzi and Magnussen at the back. So no retirements here today and no safety car, which is refreshing for a change. We hold on to our third place in the Drivers' Championship as Hamilton retakes top spot, overtaking Bottas for the lead. And then elsewhere in the Constructors, we remain in third place, 4 points clear Ferrari and about 15 points clear of Racing Point. So we're hanging in there and the races are starting to run out. So we're still in the mix. If we can keep going, that would be awesome. But guys, that is going to be it for the race here at Russia. We're now going to move into the menu and once again put more upgrades onto the car.
You were cutting your way through the field during the race.
Yeah, I think we were, to be fair. The car was working really well, especially the second stint. The straight line speed was okay, not as good as it has been, but crucially we just had the better strategy and the better grip on the soft tyre, and I think that really helped us out.
You're breaking all expectations. What's your secret?
I just think we work well as a team. You know, we work hard, me and the team, trying to get the car set up right, put the work in, you know, just get the right balance every single weekend, and that pays off.
How do you feel about this team's performance this season?
I mean, they're the measuring stick, aren't they? So you've got to be impressed, you know, they're the champions.
Great. Well, that's everything.
Well, after the race, we pick up 3 points apiece between myself and Mr. Charles Leclerc. So we are going to go into the rivalry breakdown, and we are currently 14 points apiece. So we're pretty much tied in that front. We then move over to the driver acclaim, and we do gain a little bit once again as we went up to level 10 in the last race. So we're slowly ticking over, but it looks like we could actually give Leclerc a run for his money in terms of the rivalry. Here we are then back on the main menu. We've got 2 upgrades on the way, one on the 1st and one on the 7th before the next race in Japan. We're going to go ahead and add some more. So as you can see, first of all, the durability is now level 2 across all 4 fronts, which is good. Hopefully Williams decides to invest in the chassis and aero sometime soon. But we look at the R&D graph, and looking at the options we have available, I feel like chassis needs more work. We are still at the bottom here, so I'm going to go ahead and purchase this minor upgrade. It's only, a small improvement, but at this stage, any improvement is a good one, so we're going to go ahead and get that on the car. And currently we have 3 upgrades on the way, and if they all arrive, we should hopefully draw level, if not maybe even overtake AlphaTauri, but it depends what upgrades they bring along in the next couple of races. So let's skip ahead to the next race. Fingers crossed though, all of the upgrades arrive. Well, maybe not then. We only got one of the 2 upgrades, so we're going to go ahead and repurchase the cable assembly. So hopefully we should have 2 chassis upgrades on for the next race. But yeah, still we've taken a small improvement. You can see in the bottom right, we're now ahead of Alfa Romeo with the aerodynamic upgrade for this weekend's race at Japan. So yeah, overall we're looking pretty decent, and fingers crossed, when we arrive at Japan, we can have a decent race. But guys, if you enjoyed today's episode, then leave a like on it, subscribe for more F1 content, which of course is daily on this channel. As always, thank you to the members of the channel for supporting. I really appreciate it. And if you guys haven't missed the 2 videos on screen right now, then I urge you to go check them out. But guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time for my favourite race of the entire season for the Japanese Grand Prix.